Welcome to another Photoshop tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to create a custom Photoshop brush. So I'm going to go ahead, I've got this image open up here. One of the most common things that people use Photoshop brushes for that they make themselves is for things like branding or marking, kind of stamping your images or watermarking them. So I'm going to go ahead and actually open up my logo real quick. I am going to turn this into a Photoshop brush. So the first thing I'm going to do is I had just opened up this Illustrator file. I'm going to actually go ahead and quick erase that little guy there because I don't want that. What I want to do is I want to select these pixels. So I'm going to go to, I actually just right clicked on here to go to select pixels. From there I'm going to go to edit and I'm going to go to define brush preset. I'm going to call this the A icon because it's my A icon. Simple way of doing it. You'll notice right now that that says 709. That means it's 709 pixels. That means the brush, you probably shouldn't make it bigger than 709 pixels or it'll start to get a little grainy or pixelated looking. Most of the time that's not a big deal because it's a pretty big size, so that should be fine. If I go now back to this image here, you can see that I can go to my brush. And actually this A is already selected. Hold on, this is out of view. Right down here you can see that this little A is right here. Oops, accidentally already bumped it. Right now I have this on white. You'll notice that I have this, I just painted this onto its own separate layer. That's really important. If you put it on its own separate layer, you can actually resize this logo that you just painted on here. So I just went to Command or Control T and I'm going to just resize and put this little A down here. If you want, once you stamp it on, you can play with stuff here, like you can go to some of these color modes like overlay and you can see how it starts to expose with the image. You also can obviously go ahead and pick like a blue color if you want. You can do any color you want, and that's kind of the benefit of having it as a Photoshop brush. Depending on the image that you are watermarking, you might want a different color. And I actually have color palettes saved. This is actually my color palette for my blog here that's loaded, but you can use some of your branding colors. Oops. That you have for your site. So I could do like this blue color here. By the way, you'll notice that this is on overlay, which is why it's blending in. So that's how you can use this brush to watermark an image. I'm going to go ahead and start and do this again and actually show you how to save a series of brushes. So this one is a little more complicated. You'll see how I made this for one of my clients. I made these star corners. So she's going to use this either for papers or for doing some watermarking for images, just various materials, slideshows that she makes. So I've got all these little gold stars. Now these gold stars, I could just take this PNG and overlay over an image, but I wanted to make these as a series of brushes for her because the brushes really work well. Once again, you can pick different colors depending on the image that she's overlaying it on. Now, because this is an image, one thing I want to do, so for example, my little A icon was all gray. You can see how this has different tones to it, kind of lights and darks. It actually can do some cool stuff when you have that. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to turn this into a brush, and I'm going to show you what happens when you have an image like this. So I went ahead and went to select pixels, and now I have these little stars created here. Once again, I'm going to go up to Edit, and I'm going to go to Define Brush Preset, and I'm going to call this Star Corner 4. Hit OK. And then if you look, I'm actually going to go ahead and open up a new piece of paper, go to US paper, make it white, looks good. Now what I can do is I can take any color I want. So maybe I want to take a, I don't know, this kind of purpley tone. I want to once again make a new layer, and now I can take my brush like so, and I have these stars. What you notice about this is, do you see how there's lighter tones within these stars? That's because that existed within the original image. So you can actually see some of the texture and color variations from that image. So if you do have a graphic that you're creating a brush set from, it's kind of a nice feature to be able to do that. Once again, the reason I put this paint in its own layer is I can move that around. I'll show you this is another example. If you just open up an image, so I'm just going to open up a photograph. It's kind of a silly example, but I'm opening up one of my paintings that I'm working on. And now I can take this same star brush. By the way, you see how this is really big right now, just like your other brushes. I can drop this down. It's too small. And I can brush these stars on here. And I'm using white. You know, I'm going to try 1,000 pixels. Okay. And I can just brush those on. So you can see how that's kind of fun. It makes a little watermark on there. And the nice thing about a brush is that you can go ahead and you can kind of paint it in a couple different areas. Now I did a mistake here. I didn't make a new layer for the painting, so I can't move these stars around now and directly edit them. So I should have put that on a separate layer. I'm just going to go ahead and shut this out and not save it. All right, so I did this star corner here. I made a brush out of that. Now I want to go ahead and do this with the other one. So once again, I'm going to right click, hit select pixels, go to edit, define brush preset. I'm going to call this star corner 3. By the way, I'm just giving it these names because these correlate with the files that I gave her with the actual gold. So that's why I'm naming it that. You can name it whatever you want. For me, it just made sense to do that. Go ahead and hit select pixels. I'm going to go to file, edit, define brush set. Call this one star corner 2, like so. And now I've got this one. Once again, you can see how that already loaded that brush. Hello. I'm going to go to select pixels, go to edit, and then define brush preset and call this star corner 1. Okay. All right. So now what I have is all of these different star corners in my brushes panel. So if you look down at the bottom here, you can see here are these different star corners. And here's my A that I made earlier. To save these star corners, the easiest way to do it is to go to your little brush preset panel manager, brushes and brush preset. So just so you know, this is just a little window that gives you a lot of options with your brushes. If you don't have this, go up to window and make sure you have brush presets selected so you can see that it's an option. What I want to do is edit my brush presets. So what I'm going to do, I want to go ahead and select these little brush presets. Sorry, I should probably just show you what I just did there. So right here, I've got this little icon. This is going to help me manage my presets. So once again, I'll show you this little guy right here, this little square. Sorry, I forgot to put my little highlighter thing on. So I'm going to go ahead and select all 4 of these. I clicked on the first one, held shift, clicked on the last one, and I'm going to say save set. Now this is actually labeled here as wonderwoman.abr. Move this up so you can see. So you can actually, you can actually save, name the preset like this and hit save. I'm not going to hit save because I already made it, but that's where it will save, is within your presets, within your brushes. All right, let's pretend I hit save, and then I can go up to my brushes, and you can see how Wonder Woman is an option. I have these same brushes showing up down here. Once again, I can just go through and paint these different brushes on. Now that one didn't do anything because I had it on white, so obviously that's kind of silly, but you can see how I can just go through here and actually paint with the different brushes. Just click these, and it's kind of fun. You can just kind of mess with this and go crazy. Obviously I can really go crazy and just keep clicking. You can also stretch and it will actually repeat them, and you can make it, you know, look like an insanity star explosion. But once again, you can see how this can be helpful for watermarking, for creating little fun graphics with your logo if you want to stamp it on something. All right, so you start with just having an image like this. Once again, you can right click to do select pixels. You can go to edit, define the brush preset, and then within your panels here, your brush panels, this little preset manager will allow you to save these. So for example, with my A icon, I can say save set and call this A icon. This will allow you to open it in the future so that you have it saved within your brushes. If you don't save the set, it will disappear and you won't have it next time. I'm actually going to close out of Photoshop real quick and reopen it and just show you. It'd be helpful if I click on the program. And I'm just going to show you once again, I'm going to reload these brushes so you can see that a little bit better. I'm just going to start with a new paper file with my brushes. And actually it's still loaded because it was there last time. But let's say reset brushes. All right. So here's my brushes. I reset my panel to be what it was before. Now if I click Wonder Woman, just so you know, this append, if you click that, I usually select that. Append will just add these to your list. So you can see now how these are added to the bottom of the brushes that you already had open. So once again, I can now start painting with these like I did before. You can play with different colors and have fun with your brushes. I can do the same thing with my A icon. So right here, A icon, I'm going to hit append. That adds it to my bottom, my list, and I can paint that logo on here. And that's how you create brush presets and how you save them to Photoshop. Have fun and good luck with your own brushes.